An actual vent.
put in there. And then this is missing a little cover plate there on this little electrical connection. So that's a better picture of it. Handrails need to return to the wall, because like if you're going down there carrying your purse,
Actually, I had this happen. You just like click it on your,
and
then you get clotheslined on
like,
it.
Like I've actually hooked like straps on pants and things like that as well.
Huh.
So anyway, they're just supposed to return to the wall. So just put that on the list, and especially like once you start finishing that out, and there's going to be like living space, and people might be coming up and down.
Yeah.
That'd be more important at that point. A little bit of damaged weather stripping at the back door. No big deal. Just kind of fix that up. Here's the other end of that railing, and the railing's also loose, so just have that secured. The bottom steps, not the riser heights are supposed to be pretty consistent. This bottom steps kind of, so as you're heading down, all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what just happened? So it's minor tripping hazard. The only way to really fix it is to reframe the entire set of stairs. So it's really worth it. So I didn't go into that bedroom yet. The bedroom down there, the no egress window. But definitely, some water is penetrating in that bedroom, then coming through and heading over these floor drains. So I went back outside and was trying to see where this water is coming from. There's not anything that's really that obvious. Kind of that back corner where that crack is in that room, where this water is coming from, there's an old tree stump right there. So that's
great minds. We already discussed that.
So that could be part of the deal right there. Is you might be like forcing.
When we had John's Waterproofing give a bid, which frankly I thought was pretty dang cheap for waterproofing the entire basement. I couldn't believe it was that cheap.
I had to look back.
$5,000.
I'm like, I thought I was missing a zero even.
I seriously was like, what the? I mean, for the installation, because when they waterproof a basement, it's like regular, it's like living upstairs. Like it's dry as a freaking bone when they do it. So I was kind of like, I couldn't believe it was that cheap. So yeah.
We were surprised too.
I totally was like, shit, that's not much at all.
Yeah.
I maybe should do that in my basement.
Right. Is that transferable?
Yeah, seriously. Can I get that same deal over here?
A few loose electrical covers down the basement. A few vertical cracks, which are not a big deal, although some of them are showing some moisture penetration. You got a floor drain down there. It looks fine, and there is a trap primer, so I can see that there's water in there. So
sweet.
A little bit of water. This is where the sewer line that's where the clean out is. So it's getting a little bit of water penetration there from time to time. So I think, just as much as you can, just control water off the house. But I mean, this will all be part of like that bid, so that'd be good. Old concrete utility sink, it works pretty well, but this little spout will not go over. It's like frozen, rusted in this place, so it's kind of marginal use. So you might want to do something with that. And just generally, the plumbing distribution lines are all galvanized. Well, not all, but mostly. And there's some pretty good spots of corrosion that may leak. So definitely, as you're upgrading plumbing rooms and before you finish out the basement, you want to upgrade all the plumbing, because you don't want to cover any of this. It's just, you want to get it upgraded. So. Okay. And same thing with the drain lines. They're all just old. Most of them are old galvanized and cast iron. Just keep upgrading before you cover them.
Do you have a ballpark on what a plumbing upgrade on a house this size would be?
Both supply and waste. 8.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. 6 to 8. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's all exposed at this point, so
it makes it real easy.
And it's stand-up work. It's not like anybody has to crawl under the house, so it's just a matter of running new lines. So that's what I would say, somewhere in there. Yeah.
So if we were going to add a bathroom down there, that might be something we just want to have all done in one shot.
Yeah, most people will piecemeal it in, which is fine, but like he's right. If you cover that with the ceiling and everything else and you have all this beautiful drywall, when it leaks, because it will eventually leak, then you got to knock down all your freaking drywall to fix what you should have fixed before you put up the walls.
Double the cost.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's one of those frustrating things about finishing spaces, because there's like, okay, I got to do all these things before I can do this other thing that I want. Yeah.
Let's see here. What else was I thinking about? So here's the rod under
toilet.
the bathroom. So
Okay.
there's my little pokey tool, and it's it's pretty good. And then so I couldn't quite tell on top of these joists if it's rotten, but once these come off, you'll be able to tell and fix them up. So there are some horizontal cracks down there, real small ones, but they're pretty consistent all the way around. They're kind of right about this height, and they so it's pretty much the entire back wall, part of that corner. The front wall doesn't really have them, and then so kind of almost 2.5 sides of the house have this horizontal crack that runs. It's just it's almost just right below grade level. So horizontal cracks are risky because that's where your foundation can go like that. Vertical cracks don't tend to do that. So I don't know. It's pretty small, and I'm not seeing bulging or anything, but still, it's like I would be wanting to have somebody look at this. And I don't see any evidence of like water coming through the horizontal crack, so that's a good sign. And I would think that probably a solution would be to have somebody frame, and if you're going to finish out the basement anyway, you're going to frame up a wall anyway. You can frame up a wood pressure treated wall in contact with that concrete to press. So if it starts to go, it doesn't have anywhere to go.
Okay.
So
that almost braces it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, it just provides a little bit of lateral pressure against it. So I don't know, like you might still have somebody come and look at it just because it's like it's pretty consistent all the way around, and so it's kind of like those are just can be problematic. So, but I do think that that's probably the fix is just to frame something up against it.
Okay.
Oil tank. So I don't know, and they did scan for a tank while he was here. He didn't tell me anything, so I don't know if he found anything. Shut off for the oil, so if you need to shut the oil off to the furnace, that's where it is, right at the oil tank. There's just some more of this horizontal crack, and more of it right in here. So, and then let's see, what was I looking at here? Oh, yeah, just another vertical crack. So you do have some old heat ducts with some asbestos tape on it, so that's kind of normal. And you can, depends, because if you're going in a whole new system in here, they might redo a lot of the ducting, but you can just wrap this stuff with mastic, this goopy stuff that dries hard. So, because this stuff will have asbestos and cancer causing. So, more of that. And so the furnace, it's an old oil furnace, really old oil furnace. I don't know how old it is. They have these dampers on the flue. This doesn't look like it's adjusted properly to me because normally when the furnace is not running, this is closed. And then when it starts to run, it'll kind of swing open. So I don't think this is adjusted properly. I opened up the burner compartment and looked inside. There's a lot of corrosion. Although these things are super heavy built. I mean, it's like iron, cast iron. They never, well, I shouldn't say never, but they rarely like really rust through. But there's enough debris in here, and the damper's not quite working right. And then when I turned the furnace on, it ran for a long time, and then finally the air handler came on, started blowing air through, and then I turned it down, and then it was, boy, it ran for, like the air handler ran for like another 20-30 minutes before it shut itself off. So it's just kind of taking a long time for it to do its thing. And these kind of furnaces, they need like kind of annual service and tweaking. So unless you guys are like, okay, well, as soon as we close, we're ripping this thing out and doing something, then I wouldn't worry about it at all. So it just kind of depends where you are with the heating system. This thing may last a lot longer. They tend to last a long time, but they tend not to be very efficient. So the filter in there is dirty, and it's also a little bit undersized, so a lot of air can just get around it. So I want to see if we can find a better size filter, and that'd be something that the HVAC person can do when they're here. This is the area under the front porch. So this little concrete piece is actually, this little jogs in right here, and that's, so there's definitely evidence of water that comes in, and some, chipped and peeling paint, kind of efflorescence, but I poked around into these wood framing around it and didn't find any rot. So there may be some hidden rot in there, but like I say, I would just do something out there to give it some more cover. Yeah, little awning, little, yeah, and if you're gonna do the roof, that'd be a perfect time to like have somebody do a nice little porch type thing. Yeah, it kind of, like I say, give the house some 3 dimension. Because when I looked at it, I go, okay, it's a bungalow. And I'm like, well, no, it's more of a ranch. And I'm like, no, it's kind of a bungalow ranch. But if you put a thing on there, then it's a bungalow for sure. Water shut off downstairs. So it's old galvanized in the house. Here's a possible clean out down in the basement. Water heater is newer, 2013. There's a couple things going on in the water heater. This is a pressure relief pipe, which will be secured to the base of it so it doesn't wag around when it's blowing hot water everywhere. It only has one strap, and this strap is just PVC tape, so it's not strong enough.
Home job.
It needs to have two, and then also it's like not strapped to anything. It's strapped in the middle of space, so it would rock back towards the wall and then rock that way and blow out all the straps on it. So it needs to be up against something, or you can put some blocking behind it. The conduit, the electrical conduit, you can see gaps there and there. So safety issue, get the electrical taken care of. What else on the water heater? This is the water heater shutoff. This section of pipe, which is extremely rusted, and there's a little rusty area on the floor right below, is just black iron, which is normally used for gas and not water. I mean, you can use it for water, but this is why it's not a good idea. So it'd be nice to upgrade that, get rid of that section of that. Iron pipe. That's the area below it. It's not dripping right now, but clearly it drips from time to time. Here's some more of that horizontal crack. And just like some drips coming in, just those little minor drips here and there. So I'm kind of wandering around the basement now, mindlessly wandering around. This is near the furnace exposed junction, so we need to have that in a box, covered electrical box. You have an old panel. This is a Bulldog Pushmatic, which when they were made were really high-end panels. And there's, other than it just being old, there wouldn't be any reason really to replace it, with the exception of it's pretty low amperage rating. And getting new breakers are really expensive because they don't make these anymore. So I think that because of those things, and if you're wanting to redo the basement, it's time to get a new panel. I would say this panel, the maximum it's rated for is 100, and I'm not even sure if the cables coming in are rated for that. So this is kind of a limitation on your electrical. So now I've turned around and oh, look, another drip. This is, again, the water heater.
Okay.
And this is a drip that's actually wet and down on the floor. So anyway, another little spot. Okay, so I take the cover off the panel after I got distracted by the water heater again. And just look inside and just kind of match everything up. Cables that leave the panel are supposed to be inside conduit like this, and not just exposed like some of these. So that'll all get taken care of if you upgrade the panel.
Double tap.
Well, yeah, but these are actually okay. So because these are designed to take 2 wires, this is fine. But this is a 20 amp breaker, and this top wire is only rated for 15. So the bottom wire is rated for 20. So anyway, just a little electrical cleanup. This could just be moved to here, which is a 15. So pretty easy to fix. And what was I was trying to get a picture of the cables leading in. There's one place where there's 2 neutrals on a screw. And then this is, I think this is the conduit that goes to the water heater, and it's loose, so those cables are getting, the conductors are getting on that sharp edge. So, let's see here. And here's your crack in the bedroom down there. Actually, I peeled off another piece of this concrete. It was just kind of flaky, and it just came right off. But, I think it's that tree probably. That'd be my guess. So, this kind of thing, the crack itself doesn't really bother me. It's just the water penetration. So, it should be taken care of along with all that, John's waterproofing stuff.
So does water, if that has been, if that's had penetration for a long time, does that cause long-term damage to the concrete of the foundation? Does water, or is it just once it's dry,
really.
it's fine?
Okay. Yeah, once it's dry, it's fine. It's not today. It won't keep deteriorating or anything like that.
Okay.
The other thing about the basement down here is like with a lot of water pressure, then you see a lot of this efflorescence, which is like white powder, which is just salts as water comes through. And there's a little bit of that, but not much. So I think basically what you're getting is you're getting a few spots here and there where you're getting actually bulk water flow. And this is